So this video is called Laws That Exist Because of One Terrible Incident by Visual Venture. Now, this is a different kind of video and react. I've watched a few Visual Venture videos in the past, and they are kind of dark and a little existentially kind of freaky because they involve real life incidents and things that happen, but they're also informational in a way to try and get you to think in a different way, and I thought it'd be interesting to watch one. So why not start with this one? Of course, your
Zach's law means that trolling anybody
liability
deliberately with the intention of causing them seizures is now a criminal offence. The crime was
I'm
so
sorry,
shocking.
what? Can we repeat that?
Zach's law means that trolling anybody deliberately with the intention of causing them seizures is now a criminal offence. The crime
is that because of like the old internet sites? I can't think of one at the moment. I don't think Meat Spin was one. I knew one when I was younger. It was like I don't know what it was. It was like a bean or a big old dick shaft. I don't know what you'd call it. But it'd wiggle around like a worm, and then it'd, of course, play like very flashy seizure-inducing effects. And that was the point. Is that what it's about?
Was so shocking, a law was created in Rachel Hoffman's name.
Innocent people were poisoned
No,
to
that one I'm not
death
familiar.
for no reason.
Some laws were created in moments of panic. Something went wrong and people scrambled to make a law to prevent it from ever happening again. Today we're doing a deep dive into laws that only exist because of one incident. We'll start with the lighter stories.
Some laws
and
are
save
written
the
in
worst for
blood.
last. My goal is still the same, guys, to increase the number of videos I put out without sacrificing quality. To do that, we gotta keep growing. So it would mean the world if you subscribe, and I promise to do my very best that I can for you. I'm Visual Venture, and you are awesome.
Go support Visual Venture.
Rachel's
He makes
law.
great content.
Rachel's law exists because a young woman trusted the police, and that trust cost her her life. The law is named after 23-year-old Rachel Hoffman. In 2008, Rachel graduated from Florida State University. She was young and full of dreams. She wanted to attend culinary school and become a chef. Her mother later described...
Oh no, I just came off reacting to episode 4 of Hell's Kitchen, so this is a great one to start with. Oh no. What a Gordon killer.
Like this.
She was beautiful, she was talented, she loved music.
But Rachel had a secret. She occasionally used substances.
Rachel was a pothead, and Rachel sold marijuana to
some people will like
out
that.
of her home.
That same year she graduated, Rachel's neighbors smelled pot coming from her apartment. They called the police. Officers arrived and searched her home. Inside, they found pot.
And we found roughly a quarter pound of marijuana was present during a search warrant, for sure.
And if you were to hold that,
that's a decent amount.
Baggie.
A bag.
Rachel was arrested. She was facing a possible prison sentence. That meant her dream of becoming a chef was a risk. She was desperate for a way out. That's when the police made her a dangerous offer. Rachel was given 2 choices. She could fight the charges in court and risk prison, or she could work for the police as an informant. Afraid of losing everything, Rachel agreed to go undercover. In May 2008, detectives gave her an assignment. Police were investigating 2 suspected drug dealers, but they didn't have enough evidence to arrest them. That's where Rachel came in. They asked her to pose as a buyer. She would meet the suspects in a park and purchase substances from them. Rachel was nervous, but detectives assured her that she wouldn't be alone. They promised that 18 officers would be nearby watching the park. Once the deal was done, police would move in and make arrests. And Rachel...
Okay, I'm gonna guess what happened. There were only 2 officers nearby, they were violent criminals, and things went south, to put it lightly.
Would go home, make dinner for her friends, or go to a movie. The detectives gave Rachel $13,000 and put a listening device in her purse. She was now part of an undercover operation.
Somehow, Rachel Hoffman ended up on the front lines of the biggest drug bust in the history of Tallahassee's police department.
On the day of the meeting, Rachel met the suspects at the park, but they had a different plan. The suspects told her to follow them to a new location. Police tried
Never
to
go to a
warn
secondary
Rachel
location.
not to go, but technical issues
Ever.
prevented her from actually receiving that message. She got into her car and drove off. Police tried to follow, but they lost sight of her. That was the last time she was seen alive. Rachel and the 2 suspects arrived at the new location, but they never planned to sell her anything. Their real goal was to steal her money. Then one of them noticed the listening device. The situation turned
And then they
deadly.
killed her.
They realized Rachel was working with the police. Before she could escape, the suspects ended her. 2 days later, police arrested the suspects.
At least they got him.
Tallahassee Police Department had Mr. Green and Mr.
Bradshaw transported back to Tallahassee. They led us to Ms. Hoffman's body. She is deceased.
Both men were sentenced to life in prison. Rachel's
As they
tragedy
deserve.
caused outrage nationwide. Many people questioned how a young, inexperienced woman was sent into such a dangerous situation. The answer was obvious.
Yeah, why the fuck would you send just some random person off the streets to go and do police work for you? Not only police work, unpaid police work to get out of prison. I mean, it is illegal, but I was about to say, that should be illegal. It literally is. That's what the whole video is about. Duh. But why? Who would think that's a good idea? They're gonna fuck it up. What?
At the time, there were almost no laws protecting police informants. That needed to change.
The crime was so shocking, a law was created in Rachel Hoffman's name.
In 2009, Florida lawmakers passed Rachel's Law. The law requires police to explain that cooperation does not guarantee reduced charges. It also sets strict limits on how informants can be used. And before
So she wasn't even guaranteed to get time off her sentence or a lower sentence. They just made her do it for the shits and giggles? What? They killed an innocent girl for nothing. I mean, innocent in terms of it's only a petty crime. Well, kind of. I don't know how Tallahassee apparently convicts, for lack of a better term, small drug amounts. I realize I said that it's a decent amount. I just remembered that it's pounds. And pounds are tiny. It's only a quarter pound of weed, which is fuck all. And they got her to do all that. So there must be serious crackdown on weed. What?
Or anyone agrees to help the police, they must speak with a lawyer. The law can't undo what happened to Rachel, but it helped thousands of informants understand the risks before saying yes. This next law was created because of ordinary people taking Tylenol. The Tylenol bill.
Don't know what Tylenol is.
In September 1982, Chicago went into panic mode. 7 people passed away
We just don't
after
have it here.
taking ordinary pain medication, but this wasn't bad luck or a
pain
mistake.
meds.
Someone did it on purpose. By the time the truth came out, officials realized a new law was the only way to stop this from happening again. In the early 1980s, Tylenol was the most popular pain reliever in America, but it had a dangerous flaw no one noticed. At the time, Tylenol bottles had no safety seals. There was no foil and no plastic wrap around the bottle. That meant
Let me guess. Someone popped open the caps, put in, I don't know, a cyanide pill, closed it back up, put it back on the shelf, and then people took it and cocked it. That's my guess. I'm pretty sure in Australia, where I grew up, any sort of pain medication is sold. So it's not like something you can just grab off the shelf. It's something you have to get a prescription for. Well, we call it a script. Because Australians, we shorten everything. You get a script, you hand it in. You have to get the script from your doctor. You hand it in to the pharmacist. They go out the back, get it, and then they hand it to you. And of course you pay for it.
and anyone could open a bottle, swap out the pills, and close it again, and no one would ever know. For years, that risk went unnoticed, until one day in September 1982. That morning, a girl named Mary woke up with a sore throat.
12-year-old Mary Kellerman was a student at Jane Addams Junior
Why is a 12-year-old taking pain meds anyway?
According to school officials, she had a cold.
What?
To help her feel better, her parents gave her a Tylenol capsule. A few hours later, Mary collapsed. She didn't survive. At first, no one knew why she passed away. It felt so random, but it was not an isolated case. Later that day in Chicago, Adam Janus developed the headache. He took Tylenol. Moments later, he passed away too. Then things became even worse. When Adam's family heard the news, they gathered at his home to grieve. His brother Stanley was there, along with Stanley's wife, Teresa. While they were mourning, both of them started to feel sick. Since they were at Adam's house, they found his bottle of Tylenol.
His brother and sister-in-law were so upset by his death that they went back to the house and took some Tylenol from the same bottle.
A few hours later, Stanley and Teresa were rushed to the hospital. They both passed away too. Over the next few days, 3 more people across Chicago took Tylenol. They all passed away almost immediately. In total, 7 people passed away within a 3-day period, all under mysterious circumstances. Police launched an investigation. They quickly noticed one thing all the cases had in common. Every victim took Tylenol right before they passed. Local news picked up the story.
3 people are dead and and another is in critical condition tonight.
One of the victims took the pills he bought to his home.
Panic spread fast. Hospitals were flooded with calls.
The phone has been ringing off the hook at Rush Presbyterian St. Luke's Medical Center in Chicago.
Yeah, I would hear this and just throw out my bottle of Tylenol.
Anyone who took Tylenol feared they might be next. Luckily, investigators were able to recover the victims' bottles. They tested the capsules. The results were clear. Every capsule in those bottles contained potassium cyanide.
I was right!
Consuming a small amount can be fatal, but those pills contained nearly 3 times the amount needed to end someone. The police...
Holy shit! So they really just swapped out every capsule for cyanide. That means whoever did this took the time to get these same, like, markings and colors of the Tylenol capsules, filled it with cyanide, filled entire bottles with the cyanide, and then put it on the shelves. That is some crazy work. Holy shit, and 3 times? Mind you, for a lethal dose of cyanide, it is fuck all. I believe it's less than your pinky fingernail is enough to kill you. I think. I think it's even less than that. But it's like absolutely nothing. Like you could take barely any. Because there is a cyanide in apple seeds. And if you extract this, I think it's if you extract the cyanide out of, I want to say 40 apples worth of apple seeds, that's enough to kill someone. But it has to be, of course, concentrated and mixed down and like a whole bunch of chemical processes to actually take it from the seed and turn it into pure cyanide.
Immediately,
I can't believe I got it right. It was cyanide. I thought cyanide killed quicker.
Warning all the citizens about the Tylenol danger.
Police struggled to find a pattern. The contaminated pills came from different factories and were sold in different pharmacies around the Chicago area. After investigating, the police reached a conclusion. Someone likely opened random Tylenol bottles in local stores. When no one was looking, they removed the real capsules and replaced them with the poisoned ones. Then
they just replaced the bottles
on the shelves. And it was easy because the bottles didn't have safety seals.
We don't know the extent of the contamination, so I think at this time it would be wise not to take extra strength Tylenol at all.
Police alerted Johnson & Johnson.
I would take no Tylenol.
The company pulled every
Johnson &
bottle
Johnson.
from shelves
That's what I call my.
In total, 31 million bottles were recalled, but the real problem remained. In general, medicine bottles were still easy to open, and whoever was responsible could strike again. So manufacturers made a major change. They redesigned the Tylenol bottles with 3 layers of protection. First, a foil seal over the opening. Second, a tightly sealed cap. Third, a plastic wrap around the bottle's neck. If any seal was broken, consumers would know immediately. This became known as tamper-proof packaging. Other companies followed suit. Soon, every medicine bottle in America had safety seals. But packaging wasn't the only issue. At the time, product tampering was only a state crime. There was no strong federal punishment. That needed to change. In 1983, Congress passed...
You need to have that sort of shit on everything. That's why you'll see most packages come with like the little plastic, like clear dot sticker over like the corners, so you have to cut it open then open it. It's a way of being tamper-proof. And you also see, I don't know, like a Coke bottle. You know how it's got like the cap you actually twist, but then it's got that little thin bit of piece of shit plastic that kind of connects to it. It's so that when you, it's a version of tamper-proof, because you can't really just slap a new one on top because they're manufactured that way, and it's hard to take off the little ring and put a whole new one back on without damaging it or making it look tampered. That's what those are for. It's basically the updated version.
What became known as the Tylenol bill. The law made product tampering a federal crime. Anyone caught could face anywhere from 10 years in prison to life behind bars. The government hoped this would discourage people from repeating that crime, but it didn't. 3 years later, in 1986, a woman named Stella Nickel wanted to end her husband, so she added deadly pills to his medicine bottle. Her husband passed away, but the police later discovered what she did. Stella Nickel became the first person ever convicted under the new law. She was sentenced to 90 years in prison for product tampering. So every time you see a safety seal on medicine, remember this law. It protects millions of people from getting hurt. This next story is about a tragedy that went down in history.
Not over the counter.
The Station nightclub fire. Today, every nightclub in America
off the
has
shelf, I guess.
sprinklers, but in the early 2000s, many clubs didn't. Back then, sprinklers were not even required by law. One night, more than 400 people
so
walked
dangerous.
into a nightclub without sprinklers. What followed was so tragic, it changed fire safety laws forever. In 2003, the Station nightclub in Rhode Island was very popular. It was
Of
owned
course
by
it's
two
Rhode
brothers,
Island.
like many
I've heard nothing but bad things about Rhode Island, and I don't even know where Rhode Island is. I just hear everyone shit. Everyone in America always shits on Rhode Island. I don't know a fucking thing about Rhode Island other than Rhode Island bad. And again, I don't know where it is. I think it's near New York City. I don't remember which one. Everyone always says New York for the city and New York for the state. I have no idea which is which.
club owners, they wanted to keep noise from leaking outside, so they installed foam padding on the walls to absorb sound. That solved the noise problem, but it also created a much bigger one.
A fire
foam
hazard.
lining the walls was highly flammable.
But it was also made of polyurethane, a highly flammable, petroleum-based material. It was installed all around the stage and the dance floor.
But the club owners didn't see it as a serious risk. Over time, the club
and if you
grew
got
even more popular.
pyrotechnics.
And in 2003, a rock band called Great White booked a show there, but one critical detail was overlooked. Great White was known for putting on a pyrotechnic display during their performances. Pyrotechnics are small fireworks usually used to excite crowds, but fireworks
or literal fire. There are some metal bands and rock bands that use actual fire jets on the stage.
meant
important
sparks.
thing to note.
Using pyrotechnics inside a foam-lined nightclub was extremely dangerous. On the night of the show, the band's tour manager set up the fireworks. They were placed directly behind the stage. By 11 p.m.,
they should have been told about this.
About 462 people were inside the club. That alone was a serious problem because the legal capacity was only 404. As the band played, the tour manager lit the fireworks.
That's some crowd
Sparks
crush.
shot into the air. The crowd had cheered. They had no idea what had just started. The sparks instantly ignited the foam on the wall behind the stage. Flames spread within seconds. At first, some people thought it was part of the show. Then smoke began filling the room. That's when panic set in. Everyone rushed toward the front door. The building actually had 4 exits, but most people didn't know that. They got into the club through the front door, so they all tried to leave the same way.
That's why
Many
exit signs
never made it
exist.
out. By the time firefighters arrived, it was too late. Hundreds were injured. More than 100 lost their lives. The authorities launched an investigation. They identified one major issue. The nightclub had no sprinkler system. Sprinklers would have put out the fire, or at least contained it long enough to give everyone time to exit safely.
It would have given them
Authorities
time to
made sure
escape.
it could never happen again. In the months that followed, new fire safety laws were created. First, nightclubs were required to install sprinklers. Flammable materials had to be removed from walls and ceilings. Emergency exits had to be clearly marked and well lit. Limits were placed on how many people could be inside at one time.
Yeah, if you have a maximum capacity, it's called maximum for a reason. You are not supposed to exceed that. Also, if you've ever noticed exit sign, if you've ever noticed exit signs, they're always bright fucking neon lights that you can see from 1,000 miles away. I'm exaggerating, of course, but they're very bright. It's so that they can cut through not only darkness and distance and crowd, but also, most importantly, smoke. Because smoke is not just like steam, where it's just particulates in the air, like very, very small atoms in the air that can somewhat obscure your view. No, it's actual burned particulates in the air and carbon and all this other shit that is very, very dense. So it blocks everything.
Works were banned in indoor venues unless strict safety rules were followed.
And yeah,
every one of these
pyrotechnics
rules
inside
came
is
from
so
that
dumb.
tragedy. That night, 462 people went out to enjoy live music, but more than 100 never came home. Up next is the story of a woman
Which
who
is
made a fatal
quarter.
mistake. Rowan's Law.
Crazy.
Rowan's Law requires young people to get medical attention when they're not feeling well. At first, that sounds strange.
What?
Why would anyone need a law for that? The reason traces back to the disturbing case of 17-year-old Rowan Stringer. In 2013, Rowan Stringer was a high school student in Ontario, Canada. She was also the captain of her school's rugby team. Rowan's friends and family knew how much she loved the sport.
She really enjoyed it. She really...
Wait, rugby? Oh, it's Canada,
coming
that's
home
why.
and talking about how many tackles she had and...
Rugby, that's my sport. It's not really. Australia is very well known for its rugby league. It's sort of one of Australia's... I say it's Australia's biggest sport. It isn't. It's AFL, Australian Football League. But NRL is huge here. But NRL is huge in Australia, like absolutely massive. And we have actually, over the last few years, they've started to, I don't know why I say we. I'm not part of it. I don't give a fuck about football. But they've started actually moving NRL from Australia to the US. There are some games in, I was going to say LA. It's not. It's in Las Vegas. So that's kind of cool. It's being shipped worldwide. I know it started in Britain, which is weird, because Britain aren't even good at it.
Rowan gave everything on the field, and that intensity would later become part of the danger. Rugby is a physical sport. Players constantly collide into each other and hit the ground. Those impacts
and you don't have any
cause
padding
serious
or armor.
injuries. One of the most dangerous is a concussion, which is a brain injury. Many players didn't understand how serious concussions were. In the spring of 2013, Rowan's team played several games within a week. During the first match, Rowan took 2 hard hits to the head. She felt dizzy afterward, but she didn't tell her coaches. She stayed in the game. Later that night, Rowan was still feeling off. She told her friends she thought she might have a concussion, but she never saw a doctor.
Fun fact about NRL, NRL, as I said, they don't have any protective gear. It is all jerseys and shorts and shoes, and that's it. Maybe the occasional headgear if someone has had a recent concussion or some other bits of whatever for whatever medical reasons. And of course a mouth guard because you're being tackled. And the number one injury is concussions. And when a player takes a really, really hard hit in NRL, they will stop the game so that they can check on the player to make sure that they're okay. Because if they're concussed, they're out. Not out of the game necessarily, but they need to sit on the sideline and get some medical attention. And that's why they have subs.
Instead, she focused on getting ready for the next game. It was a decision she would not recover from. At the next match, things became much worse.
Concussions.
Rowan was tackled repeatedly. Each time, she hit the ground hard. After one fall, she tried to stand. She couldn't. Coaches called for help. The game stopped immediately. Rowan was rushed to the hospital. But doctors realized this wasn't a typical concussion. They diagnosed Rowan with
TBI.
second impact syndrome. This happens when a second concussion occurs before the first one is healed, and that could be fatal. Doctors tried everything to save her. They couldn't. Rowan's family was devastated. But the tragedy revealed a much larger problem. Most young athletes didn't understand the risks and symptoms of concussions. And because of that, many injuries went unreported. Rowan's family refused to let her passing be meaningless.
I would never want to see this happen to another family ever again. So our goal is to really make sure that we prevent that.
They shared Rowan's story with lawmakers in Ontario. And in 2018, the authorities passed Rowan's law.
So Ontario will become the first jurisdiction in all of Canada to pass concussion legislation.
The law made concussion education mandatory. Coaches, athletes, and parents had to learn the risks. It also set strict rules. If a concussion is suspected, the athlete must leave the game.
Yeah, that's the same thing here. If a concussion happens, you're out. You're benched. And then they receive medical treatment. It is also something that is taught in Australian schools, especially if you're doing sports like NRL. It is the first thing you learn. Granted, they're not playing full contact. They're playing usually touch. So you get tapped on the shorts, it counts as a tackle. Because it's high school stuff. They have to not go full contact because that's how you get injuries. But they're still taught these things because if they go to play football later on, they need to know this information because it is quite literally life-threatening, as we just saw.
No exceptions. They can only return after a doctor clears them. Because of this law, winning is no longer the top priority. Health is. The laws we've talked about so far happened because of tragedy. But this next one was created because someone made a dumb mistake. The exploding whale law. In 1970, Oregon passed...
is this about the whale that was beached in... I want to say... Oregon? I don't remember where it was, but I remember seeing a story about a whale that was beached, and then they just... They for some fucking reason, the local government said, yeah, let's get the road people to do it. I mean... oceans are the roads of the sea, right? Let's just get them to do it. That should be fine, right? And they were like, we don't know how to move this thing, so let's just get some TNT and blow this bitch up. And it caused massive amounts of damage and didn't even move the whale.
A very specific law. Do not use explosives to blow up dead whales. Why in the world?
Obviously.
Would this be a law? Because it already happened once. Someone blew up a whale, and the result was a disaster. Oregon has a long
I was right.
Miles
it was
of
Oregon.
beaches stretch along the Pacific Ocean, but beaches come with one constant problem. Marine animals sometimes wash up lifeless on shore. Usually they're small and easy to deal with. They can be tossed back into the sea, but sometimes something massive washes ashore, and when that happens, getting rid of it becomes a serious problem. That's what Oregon faced on November 9th, 1970. That morning,
I can't believe I was right. But I believe the way you're supposed to take care of a whale, one, you close the beach. Two, I believe you start not harvesting it, but you take what you can take from it because it's a dead animal, you may as well. Obviously, you do it humanely, I think. I'm purely guessing here. But don't you, like, for lack of a better term, carve it down, like cut off the tail, then cut that away to be dealt with. I don't know how they deal with it. And then you take off the fins and you remove that, and then so on and so forth. I think that's how they do it. Obviously, you need to poke a fucking hole in it, because the big problem with whales is if they are kept on land for too long, of course they're going to rot, as all animals do, but because they have such a thick fucking hide, when you die, you start, of course, rotting, and rotting causes gases to build up in the body. And because whales are incredibly thick and incredibly big, they swell and they swell and they swell, and they have so much pressure and rotted gas in their systems. If you don't take care of it quickly, they will explode on their own. They just straight up go boom. Except it's not a fireball explosion or a fun explosion, it's a flesh explosion. That's not pretty.
Massive dead whale washed up on the beach. It was about 45 feet long and weighed nearly 8 tons. It was far too large to move, so it stayed where it landed for days. As the whale decayed, the smell became overwhelming. People could smell it miles away.
Yeah, it would stink.
The Oregon State Highway Division not only had a whale of a problem on its hands, it had a stinking whale of a problem.
Local officials knew the whale had to go, but every option seemed impossible. Burying it would be too difficult. They would have to dig a massive hole on the beach. Towing it back out to sea wasn't realistic either, so Oregon authorities held a meeting to decide what to do. An engineer named George Thornton had an idea. It sounded like a good plan, but in reality, it was a terrible idea. George's plan was simple. Use dynamite to blow the whale into small pieces. Then birds would eat what was left and clean up the beach. George
you need a lot of fucking dynamite.
Had experience using explosives on highway projects. He figured blowing up a whale wouldn't be too different from a boulder. That assumption didn't hold up. On the day of the blast, hundreds of spectators gathered on the beach.
They should have closed the beach.
What they believed was a safe distance away. A reporter showed up as well. George and his team brought half a ton of dynamite. That's roughly 1,000 pounds of explosives. They packed it around the whale's body. Then they pushed everyone back even further. The countdown began. Then the explosion. People cheered. For a moment, it looked like the problem was solved. It wasn't. The explosion launched massive chunks of whale into the air. Then it rained down across the beach. Debris landed as far as a quarter mile away.
You can see it's landed in people's cars.
Piece crashed into a parked car and crushed the roof. When the smoke cleared, officials realized they now had a bigger mess. Massive pieces of whale were spread across the beach. They were too heavy for birds to carry, and somehow the smell was even worse than before. It took dozens of workers
because of all the gases inside, they'd spread it everywhere.
Scattered across the beach. And officials did what they should have done from the start. They buried the remains in the sand. The incident made national news, and Oregon became a punchline. But the embarrassment forced the state to confront a real issue. There were no clear rules for disposing of large marine animals. That ended.
It also doesn't help you got the fucking highway division to do it. Maybe you have people that, I don't know, specialize in marine biology and get them to try and deal with it, or perhaps people that work with oceans. I think that might, or even beaches, that would be a better idea than the fucking highway division. You know, the fuckers that built the roads. The people that think, yeah, one more lane of freeway will solve the problem. I don't think they know what to do.
After the whale, Oregon changed its policies. Explosives were officially off the table. When a large marine animal washes ashore, workers dig a deep pit, roll it in, and bury it. The state remembered that lesson. In the next 10 years, 41 whales washed up on Oregon beaches. This time, no one reached for dynamite. History did not repeat itself.
That's a lot of whales.
This next law was created because of absolutely horrible internet trolls. Zach's Law. Zach's Law exists because someone posted an image on Twitter. It doesn't sound dangerous, but there was something about that image that could have caused millions of medical emergencies. To understand why, we need to start with the boy the law was named after.
It was Twitter.
Zach Eagling. Zach was an 8-year-old boy living in the United Kingdom, but his life was very different from most kids his age. He was born with 2 medical conditions, cerebral palsy and epilepsy. This made everyday tasks difficult. Even simple movements took effort, but Zach didn't let that define him. He wanted to help others facing the same challenges. So he decided to raise money for the Epilepsy Society, a charity that supports
cerebral
people with that
palsy
condition.
is
Zach
terrible.
planned a sponsored walk. He would walk 2.6 kilometers in laps around his backyard, and he was going to do it without his walking aid. Zach hoped it would inspire people to donate. It did. Unfortunately, it also inspired evil people to act. The sponsored walk was scheduled for May 2020. Zach's mother filmed him as he slowly moved around the backyard.
Good on the kid.
Longest distance he had ever walked on his own, and he succeeded.
That's awesome.
Zach's fundraising feat raised over £21,000.
The video of Zach's walk was shared on the Epilepsy Society's social media. It got a ton of views. Messages of support poured in. Then the internet showed its darker side. Internet trolls posted flashing images and GIFs on the Epilepsy Society's Twitter account. They knew exactly what they were doing. Flashing images can trigger seizures in people with epilepsy. They tagged the posts with keywords that would be picked up by anyone who lived with the condition. Fortunately, Zach didn't have a medical emergency that day, but others weren't as lucky. Many reported seizures after seeing the posts. The Epilepsy Society reported the attack to the police, but officers said there was little they could do. There was no clear law against intentionally triggering medical emergencies online. That's when Zach's mother realized something had to change. Zach's family and the Epilepsy Society launched a campaign to protect people with the condition from online harm. They took their case to lawmakers in the UK, and in 2023, Zach's Law was passed.
Zach's Law means that trolling anybody deliberately with the intention of causing them seizures is now a criminal offense.
The law also places
I'm not a huge fan of the stipulation that it is exactly for seizures, because that is so fucking precise, and you could easily go around and say, no, I wasn't doing that because I was trying to cause someone a seizure. I just thought it was funny. I thought it was a funny image. That the wording on that one needs to be revised. There is too many. I mean, look, they're probably simplifying it. I'm sure that's a little bit more in depth than that, but based on what that person said, oh, that's concerning. But that's still awesome that the kid who managed to walk 2.3K on his own with cerebral palsy is awesome.
Responsibility on social media platforms. They must remove dangerous flashing content before anyone gets hurt. If they don't, they can face heavy fines. Zach's walk was meant to raise money for charity. Instead, it changed the law. Now, people with epilepsy have stronger protection.
It did both.
You make me proud every single day. You drive me crazy. Yeah. But I think we are the best team ever.
This next chapter is the reason
that's
why
an awesome
we have
story.
Amber Alerts. The Amber Alert system. The Amber Alert system.
Okay, as someone who grew up in Australia, I didn't know about Amber Alerts until like 2 years ago. I had no idea what they were, and I still vaguely know what they are. So this will be enlightening for me.
The system exists because of an incident that happened in Arlington, Texas, and it involved a little girl named Amber Hagerman. One Saturday in January 1996, Amber was riding her bike near her home. A neighbor saw her riding in circles across the parking lot. Moments later, everything went wrong. A black pickup truck pulled up beside her. A man jumped out and grabbed Amber. Then he sped away. The entire incident lasted only seconds. The neighbor called the police immediately. He gave a description of the suspect in his vehicle, but couldn't recall much else.
And he run up behind her and grabbed her right under her arms and picked her up. And he turned around and come right back to here where his truck was, where the door was open, and put her in the truck.
Police launched a manhunt right away, but the truck was already gone. The next day, the entire community joined the search. Search teams combed through Arlington. Flyers were posted everywhere, but there was no sign of her. 4 days later, a man made a terrible discovery.
They found
He
her?
was walking our dog, and he looked over the fence and had saw something white. Looked again and noticed that it was a body.
Amber didn't survive. The community was devastated. As the shock settled, people began asking a painful question. What more could have been done to save her? That question led to a powerful idea. On the day Amber was taken, most people nearby had no idea it happened. Life continued as normal. If people knew what to look for, someone might have spotted the truck. Someone might have called it in. Local TV and radio stations already had systems to warn people about severe weather. So why couldn't they use the same system to warn people about kidnapped children? The Texas woman shared this idea with law enforcement and local broadcasters. They quickly realized she was right. Police and broadcasters collaborated to develop a public alert system for missing children. They called it the Amber Plan.
Today we're unveiling the Amber Plan.
Amber stands for America's Missing Broadcast Emergency Response. It was also named in honor of Amber.
I was about to say it's also named after
her. When an
her.
alert is activated, it interrupts television and radio broadcasts. It appears on highway signs. It even pops up on phones. The goal is to get the public involved.
Which is absolutely crazy to me, that because something happened, you just randomly get an alert on your phone that, from what I understand, automatically blares a ping or some sort of sound. They can just do that? Since fucking when? And how? I mean, since when? Since the Amber Plan came into effect. I mean, again, I'm going to relate everything back to Australia because that's what I know. It's where I grew up. In Australia, if you have a phone, they pretty much only have access to your phone number and, of course, your personal details. But if they have your phone number, which if you're registered for anything to do with the government, you have to hand over your phone number so they can contact you. They just usually like send out a text. Like severe weather incoming, like a cyclone, for example, and you are in an affected area, they'll essentially just send out a text going, basically from the state government, yeah, there's a severe weather alert in effect. Keep up to date, and that's it. We don't get anything like this. It just doesn't happen. So this is fascinating.
As fast as possible. After launching in Texas, the system expanded nationwide. And since 1996, the Amber Alert system has helped recover more than 1,200 children. Sadly, the man who took Amber Hagerman has never been caught. This next chapter is about a building that people entered but couldn't escape. The Triangle Shirtwaist Factory. In 1911, many workplaces were dangerous, but few were as deadly as the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory in New York. The factory occupied the top 3 floors of a 10-story building. Inside, workers made shirtwaists.
Shirtwaists were a type of blouse popular with women office workers in the late 19th century and early 20th centuries.
Demand for shirtwaists was high, so factories pushed workers hard to keep up. The work was exhausting, but workers had little power to speak up. They worked 9 hours a day on weekdays and 7 hours on Saturdays. But the long hours weren't the worst part. Safety was. Factory owners wanted to stop workers from taking breaks outside. They also wanted to prevent theft and discourage union activity. So during work hours, they locked almost all the factory doors.
It was a large loft in which the doors had been locked from the outside.
It is crazy how dangerous and just evil essentially factory and company owners were back in the early 1900s and really beyond the early 20th century. Because yeah, if you could be stopped from stopping working, God, that is such a roundabout way of saying that. But if they could stop you from not working, they would do anything to do that. Because if you ain't working, they ain't making money. and it was so evil. We are very, very lucky that we have the working conditions that we do now, even if they are still absolutely subhuman. Look at Amazon. Amazon treats its workers like absolute dog shit. So does like Uber and those other gig-based jobs.
Those locked doors created a serious risk.
But
If
this is
something
just
went wrong,
evil.
Workers couldn't escape. And on March 25th, 1911,
It burnt
the
down.
disaster finally happened. Around 4:40 p.m. that day, one of the factory workers smoked a cigarette. Then they tossed it into a bin. This was a factory that made clothes, so the bin was full of fabric scraps. The material caught
It
fire
caught fire,
in seconds.
yeah.
Hundreds of workers rushed for the exits, but most of the doors were locked.
Onlookers out for a weekend
And the owners wouldn't be
stroll in
there.
nearby Washington Square Park watched in horror.
A few workers managed to escape, but for most, help arrived too late. By the end, more than 100 workers didn't make it. The city was left grieving.
This fire really shook people up.
Because
Now,
of
the
few
city was so
people's
guilt-stricken that maybe
greed, really.
we were somehow responsible.
The families blamed two people.
Factory owner Max Blank,
God,
who along
look at
with his
him.
partner Isaac Harris, was accused of locking the factory.
They could not look any more rich and evil. God, their faces look so punchable right now.
Factory door.
Both men were taken to court, but a jury acquitted them. The public was outraged. Labor groups protested in the streets. Thousands joined funeral marches. People demanded better safety for workers, and they kept pushing until they
Poor
got
choice
it.
of,
Between
footage.
1913 and 1914, New York passed nearly 60 new safety laws. Buildings
60?
were required to have clear exits. Fire escapes had to be strong and usable. Doors could no longer be locked during work hours. Factories had to be inspected regularly, and fire drills became mandatory. More than a century later, those laws are still being enforced. They
Yeah,
shape
still used
modern
today.
workplace safety standards today. Worker safety is now treated as essential, but it took a tragedy to make that happen.
Yeah, it's a right, not yeah, factory worker Yeah, factory worker safety is a right more than anything else. They must be safe because they are not only human and they deserve the same rights and the right to work in a safe environment, but it's also so fucking dangerous to everyone else around it. Because if that building collapsed, everyone on the street would also die. And anyone else that was working in that building that wasn't part of that company could die.
Every safety warning, every seal on a bottle, every alert on your phone. They exist because someone paid the ultimate price. So the next time you think a rule is pointless, remember, it probably isn't. Visual venture.
I don't know about that. Some of the rules that Meta's been trying to put in place for age verification and other lawmakers is not quite written in blood and not quite for the betterment of others. I'm not gonna say more on that one. Just know I really hate the age verification bullshit. Thanks, Discord.
So we talked about laws created by one incident, but there is a whole nother world of bans out there. I made a nearly 2-hour deep dive into movies,
Holy shit, yeah, an hour and 45
games,
minutes,
and YouTube
goddamn.
channels that were all banned for being too controversial. Click here to watch it. Love you guys. Peace.
Yeah, I love Visual Venture. He makes fantastic videos. Don't forget to check out the original channel and the original video. Give it a like, subscribe to the dude. He makes really, really good videos, high quality, really informational. Like, they're really good videos for learning about things. I learned stuff. I hope you guys did too. It's why I love this channel. It's why I wanted to react to it, because it's got some interesting stuff. And I absolutely love watching it, and dude does a great job. And if you liked it too, consider subscribing. I upload daily. Check out all the links in the description. I greatly appreciate it. Be sure to follow me on Twitch. I stream twice a week, every Wednesday and Friday. Doing Wuthering Waves on Wednesday until we catch up to the story, and then Resident Evil on Friday until we finish out the series. We're currently on Resident Evil 5. It's my first time playing it, so all the more reason to check it out. But you don't have to go very far because I stream here on YouTube as well. You can join the Discord to figure out when I go live. I notify everyone every time I go live. Thank you very much to my patrons. I love you guys, and that's going to do it for me. I thank you very much for your patronage.